So the new Cyan screen we launched actually the week before last, and it's sort of an early piece of the new user interface that we needed because we're going to start using the same login screen for our mobile app to log in as well. So you'll notice that when you resize the window, it adapts appropriately, and as it gets very small, it actually changes format significantly to sort of a look that works on mobile devices like the iPhone. So for instance, if I show you an iPhone, you can see what it looks like on an iPhone as well. So there on an iPhone, it looks similar to what it does on a small browser, but it's just sort of a convenient format and should let us do some cool stuff going down the road for mobile devices. So also, if you're so interested, you can actually, we have a little contest going for the little taglines we have running on the Cyan page. If you go to our Facebook page, you can learn about that. So sort of a fun little opportunity if you want to contribute to the sign-in page or other things. So going a little deeper, the new UI is really sort of a rethinking of how our product looks and some of the basic flows of the application. Our hope isn't to change the entire world as you know it, but to just sort of improve it and make it smoother and feel a little more modern. And then also the major push is to make it work really well on smaller screens like tablets, such as iPads, and mobile devices such as iPhones and Android phones. The first sort of iteration will probably mostly deal with tablets because they're a little more accommodating as far as size. Mobile is something that we're going to try and sort of like progressively work towards. Some things are going to be easier than others, obviously, because there's lots of information on certain screens that's going to be hard to condense for the mobile setups. It's also worth noting that this is really a pretty iterative process of building this, so even what we're going to launch will probably not be what ends up being the sort of final product, as it were. So our hope is to get something out to all customers in the next month to month and a half, and then to push it out, and then to push progressive improvements over the next 6 months to a year. We'll be working on the UI a lot and kind of improving it and rethinking how we do things as far as the user experience and the speed of things and all that. Beyond that, I think we can just start going into the system. So just for comparison's sake, this is today's customers page, and the new system looks roughly like this. Oh, it doesn't like that I resized off screen. There we go. Thank you for behaving. So what you'll notice is that we've actually sort of torn away the navigation on a default view so that you're really focused just on customers. But it lives right here, hidden in this menu. And actually, if we reload here, with a wide enough window, it'll automatically show. So basically, one of the things we're trying to do is deal with tablets. And what we found in our testing is that having the navigation persistently there just takes a lot of screen space on a pretty small screen. So by default, when the screen's too small, we just hide it, and then you can pull it back up or hide it just by hitting this icon here or touching it on the iPad. You'll see that the main menu items from the old system are just living right here on the sidebar, the same order that they do in the current system. The only changes are we've renamed the Register tab to Sales and the Admin tab to Settings. The main reason behind that is that we kind of want to make the concept of sales and registers separate because they are kind of separate entities, and we want to make that clearer that when you go into sales, you choose a register in that step process. So down the road, that'll make a little more sense of why we chose to do that. If you're noticing the light grays down here, part of that is screen rendering here on YouTube. It'll get a little better when you see it on a real web page. But it's also something we're sort of open to adjustment on, so we're sort of playing with that still and seeing how it looks on different screens. Going deeper, if you look at if we shrink this page down, and my computer catches up with me, come on, hey, there we go. Hold on a second there. There we go. You'll notice that as I resize, the menu automatically disappears, and then those columns lose their descriptive text as they get narrower, and then actually go single column as the screen gets too narrow to accommodate two-sided columns. So this layout here would be something that would work on a mobile device like an iPhone or an Android phone. As we go deeper, you'll notice that the listings aren't really like adapted well to deal with that. So we're still sort of learning about how to make all that work properly. If we go actually look at a listing, and I'm going to look at the customers listing here, you'll notice that this has been sort of altered as well. So if we go over to our current system for comparison, the major thing we've done here again is just try and make sure that you're that the user's interface is focused on your current task. So rather than showing all the tabs up top and a search form and the results lower down, the results are sort of the focus of the content. The search form is still here, and you can expand it to show more details. And then, of course, if you have the menu up, it'll stay up as you navigate around. The advanced form looks a little scary and ugly. We're still working on that, but it has all the same fields that you're used to. We are hoping to do some improvements as to how the usability of those, but that may come at a later stage. We have the same controls for dealing with pagination, so that's like grouping up records into groups. So if you have 500 records, you don't see them all on the first page, and you can kind of page through them. So here they're disabled. You'll notice on the new version that if we don't need them, they're just not shown. And that's sort of an adaptation to just kind of make the interface a little simpler and less things to choose. But the same icons for print and export and mailing labels live right over here. We have added text to everywhere we can for the labels, because what we've heard from people is that just having an icon isn't necessarily intuitive, since they don't necessarily know what we meant by those icons. So we're giving some room for those icons to actually have text descriptions next to them. And then the other thing you'll notice is that in the current system, we have a button for editing, and then all the fields are editable. We've actually changed that, at least in the prototypes here, to just have it just be this button right here, and the fields aren't editable. We're going to merge in the quick edit functionality to make it possible to edit multiple records at once and stuff like that. Again, that's not in this initial version that we're testing with, but that will come down the road. If we edit a customer, this is going to probably look and maybe not even work. But there we are. So it's quite ugly. This is where you're seeing sort of us in progress, but same sort of like look and feel as you've seen throughout here, with the main sort of controls up here, and then the tabs that you're used to over here, and then their information. And the information isn't formatted right, because we just started on that today, actually, of working on those listing levels. Now, one thing you'll notice is that wherever I am, the menu up top here, this blue menu that I'm highlighting, come on, catch up with me. There we go, that I have highlighted with my cursor, changes as I move around. So that's kind of like the breadcrumbs in the old system, which would have been up here, this little section. And if you go into like Missy Glove here, she lives up there. That same information's up here. It's also duplicated in this location, which was just sort of something that the old system did. In the new system, if I do that same thing, it says customer, Missy Glove, and I can navigate back to customers. Now, one thing you'll notice that's different is that on this page, you have this link to this page option. Link to this page will be something that we're actually getting rid of because we don't need it any longer. What will actually happen now is you'll actually be able to use the URL field and just copy and bookmark that location or email it to somebody, whatever you want to do with the link to this page. So as we navigate around, you'll notice that that actually changes dynamically with where we go. So it works like a regular web page. It also means that the back button will actually work, so I can hit back and I'll go back to the listing I'm on. That should hopefully help with a lot of frustration we've heard from people about just being able to navigate around the system. And it also means we can kind of get rid of a bunch of sort of built-in navigation options we've had previously. So that will hopefully help streamline your experience in Merchant OS. Some of the things under the hood, so if you did check this out last time and couldn't hear it, one of the things we've been working on the last 2 weeks since the last time we did an open house were really performance improvements in how we build these pages. So it's not really of super big interest to you as Merchant OS customers, but if you're interested in technology, we're better compressing the JavaScript and CSS so that we can ship you fewer files, and basically what that all means is that the pages will load even faster, and especially on mobile devices, that should really help with performance going down as we move forward to ship smaller pages out to the browsers, or out to the mobile browsers like Safari and such. So that will really help performance. I'm trying to think what else I should cover here. So those main tabs are basically the same. Inventory, service, customers. And then we can look at reports. You'll notice it's not very pretty right now. We just sort of like glanced over this so far. And settings looks pretty similar to how it always has. We do plan to kind of go deeper into those pieces, but haven't gotten there yet. And then you'll notice I haven't shown you the register yet because I've started the work on that, but I'm not really ready to share it yet. And so we'll do another one of these sharing sessions in the next week or two. And at that time, I will hopefully be able to share sort of the initial work on the register and how it's looking and working. I think that's kind of it that I have to cover today. My main goal was to get a recording here that would actually work well for people, and then to see what questions folks had. So if you have any questions, you can ask those on the YouTube video, and I should see those in nearly real time, I hope. And otherwise, we'll just hang out here for like about 10 or 15 minutes for questions, and that'll be it for today. If you have any questions and you're listening to this after the fact, or you forget and just want to ask later, you're welcome to email me at luke@merchantos.com, and I'll get those responded to either online or directly to you. So thanks so much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic just so that you don't have to hear the background noise around here, and I hope this was valuable. Thank you very much. Bye. So one of the questions we got was, when are we actually planning to release these updates to you guys? So the plan is to actually release this on a special server that'll be something like beta.merchantos.com, and you can log in and play with your actual account with a new interface and use it if you want to as a fully functional sort of prototype once we've kind of got this stable enough that it's workable, and then hopefully get feedback from sort of customers who were a little more experimental. And then once we're happy with it, to release it out to customers pretty quickly thereafter. So I think realistically, probably it'll be late May or early June before we roll it out to all customers. But my hope is to have it available to customers to play with if they want to by mid-May at the latest. So that's kind of the rough timeline at this point. And then we'll also do probably weekly versions of this little open house just to kind of get input on piece by piece as we go. So that should give some context. Thanks for the question. So one of the questions was, in addition to the user experience releases, will there be any upcoming feature releases that will coincide with these? And so our goal is to not heavily tie this release with anything else, so we don't want this to block the release of features, nor do we want features to block the release of this. So there may be new features coming out, but they're not necessarily tied to this release. That said, our hope is to sort of speed up things as this new UI comes out and lets us more easily make changes to sort of the experience of the product. So I guess my quick answer is no, it doesn't tie to anything particular, but there will be new features coming both with this release and before it. So yeah. In case anybody's still listening, I just want to say thanks so much for coming. We will post this video as an archive on our website, and you can also sign up for another one of these events on our website within a few days. Thanks so much. Have a great week.